This is joint work with UDDC on using some projects that they did about walkability to answer some questions that I heard a lot about as an outsider, but I never got a chance to really to verify or understand. So it's going to be about how we can understand how urban democracy works in relation to how the physical space that we have available to us offers that opportunity. Okay, so most of us choose where we live. Okay, when we decide where we want to buy a home or relocate to, we probably think about our employment opportunities, our commute, our location, where we want to eat, where we can shop, the neighborhood, and so on. So it is also said that where we live defines who we are, right? But do we define where we live? That is the question, right? And as I understand, in participatory democracy, we get involved. Okay, I've seen the work of UDDC throughout the years. That there have been some projects that the team did with urban reformation, riverfront redesign, and so on. And then you get involved. You go and ask people around, how do you feel about the community? What do you want your community to be? And so on. But how do we encourage people to take part in that democracy, in that dialogue? And through here, I was introduced to the work of Jane Jacobs, right? And I've read a bit about what she did, and the key word struck me. Okay, what makes a vibrant city is how we allow for diversity, for people with different backgrounds, people with different jobs, walks of life, and so on, to meet and interact in the urban space that allows us for those interactions to meet. So the inclusive city landscape enables the interaction of people and foster the sense of belonging, foster the sense of neighborhood. So I also hear there was also one conference that we went to, and the topic of that conference was what happens when you have a walkable city. What are the benefits of having a walkable city? And there were a few participants from different fields, writers, columnists, activists, urban designers, and so on. And one of the things that struck me at that conference was the idea that if your city is walkable, okay, walking is the most accessible form of transport. Most people can walk. Okay, you don't need to be rich to be able to walk to places. So if you have an urban physical landscape that allows people to walk to places that they need to go to in life, it gives them accessibility. And if you also have urban landscape that allows people to meet and see other people, it fosters the sense of neighborhood. It allows people to meet, interact, and also respect other people as your fellow citizens. In other words, having a walkable city leads to citizenship and perhaps greater participation in democracy. So that's what I heard from that conference. And as an economist, when you hear conjectures, theories like that, I can't help but think of ways of testing it. Can we empirically try to verify that? Does having a walkable city make people participate more? So that's the idea. Okay, that's the idea behind this project. So here's the goal of this project. Can we verify the statement that we just said earlier? Being in a walkable city enables people to participate more in the democratic process. Now, of course, to verify these claims, as all economists do, we have to find ways to measure all these, things of interest. So we want to be able to measure how walkable a city is, and we also want to be able to measure how people participate in the democratic process. So the two proxies we're going to be using to measure these, for the walkability, we're going to be using what we call the Good Walk Score, which I'm going to tell you in a little bit about how we calculate that. And then for citizenship, we're going to be using the voter turnout rate as participation. So we're going to take a non-partisan view of participation here. Okay, we're not going to think about who you vote for, but whether you turn up to show your democratic rights or not is our measure of success. So our conjecture is this walk score. If what we talked about, what we conjectured is correct, we should see a positive relationship between how walkable, your city is and your participation in that local election process. So let me tell you a little bit about walk score. Okay, how should we think about how walkable our neighborhood is? So we walk to places we want to enjoy. Right? We walk to places we want to go to, whether it's for work, whether it's for public services, whether it's for eating, shopping, or even for recreational activities. So we define 6 elements of the amenities that we care about, and then think about how far you are away from these places. The closer you are, the higher the score, and the further away you are, the lower the score. And outside some influence, I think it's about 1 mile that we use, is too far to walk, so that place no longer features in your walkable zone. And for each location, we can identify how walkable that place is. So for more details of how that score is calculated, it's all in here, right? It's all in here. You can find more details of this in the break room beside. So when you do this, you can do the walkability score for each location in Bangkok, and you can do heat maps of how walkable the city is. This is the map, of how walkable the place is. And we're going to be using this as our independent variable of interest to see whether that's related to how people participate in democracy. A bit of background about Bangkok. Professor Pitt talked about this already yesterday, so I'm going to be quick about this. So we're big, a mega city, registered people around 6 million, but if you include all the unofficial inhabitants of Bangkok, it's about 10.6 million. Now, our metropolis spans over about 2,600 square kilometers, so about 3,600 person per square kilometer. Of course, in some of the densest area, it can be as high as 25,000 people per square kilometer. Compared to Paris, we are a bit bigger in size, but a bit less dense overall, basis comparison. We're going to be looking at the local election. So the election we're going to be looking at is the election for the mayor of Bangkok. Of course, the official title is the governor. Term office is 4 years. We're going to be looking at the 2013 election for the mayor of Bangkok. Right. So here are the 2 variables that we want to be relating. On the left-hand side, we have the good walk score. This is now aggregated to the district levels. Bangkok has 50 districts, and each of these districts, of course, is governed is part of the, I would say, the demographic area that we aggregate our votes. On the right-hand side, we have the voter turnout rate. So to give you some sense of how high and how low these numbers can be, for the good walk score, the maximum good walk score we have on the map is about 59, out of 100, and lowest about 15. And the turnout rate, the biggest turnout rate, the more shaded area here, is about 71% people came out to vote, and the lowest is about 64%. From looking at this, we can kind of see some correlation already, right? It seems like areas around the outside of central Bangkok seems to have higher turnout rate for people who come out and vote. But let's look at this statistically as well. Let's have a look at the relationship and see if there is any statistical significance. After all, we want to be sure that the relationship we have hopefully isn't just some random draw of numbers. So first we plot the turnout rate and the good walk score per district on a scatter diagram, and it looks like we have a negative relationship. Now that's surprising because our conjecture we started off was that, well, maybe in areas where it's more walkable, people should feel more sense of belonging to the neighborhood and therefore participate more. But this is the other way around, right? The correlation coefficient is minus 0.407, statistically significant at 1% level. All right, so that's That's surprising, but let's dig a little deeper. Okay, let's use a little more statistical tool to try to find out whether, is there something else? Perhaps it's not about the walk score. Maybe it's about something else that could be happening. So the way I do this is to include past turnout rate. Okay, to some extent, some areas people may be more active already. Okay, that's not related to how walkable your neighborhood is. Maybe you're just living in some activist area. So we do this by including the past turnout rate as our independent variable. As we can see here, the coefficient here is positive. That means how much people turn out in the last election also is positively related to how much people turn out in this election. And anything else that is not explained by, and I still include the walk score here to see if, in addition to areas being more likely to turn out in past elections already, does the walkability still have any relationship with how people turn out to vote? And it's still there, negative and statistically significant. So this negative relationship is pretty robust. Okay, I'm not gonna try to claim there is something one is causing the other. Okay, I'm trying to claim that, at least trying to state that there is some negative relationship between these two. So that's surprising. Yeah, that's surprising, also contradictory to what we were hoping to find. So let's see what could be happening here. So what is the good walk score measuring? So what we do here then is to try to look at other measures of the city, okay, in each district that may be some alternative explanation as to what's going on here. So here we have the good walk score that we had on upper left-hand side, but the other three are alternative measures. Top right, the land value, the maximum land value in that district. So the more shaded, the more expensive land is in that area. Bottom left, population density. Okay, the more shaded, the more densely populated that area is. Bottom right, number of gated communities. So this is kind of inversely related to how many condos they are. So as you can see here, in the more outskirts area of Bangkok, there are more gated communities. So in other words, all of the good walk scores seem to be kind of highly correlated with how densely populated or how urbanized or how agglomerated that area is. So here's a scatter plot of the good walk score on the x-axis and the land value here on the y-axis and density here on the y-axis of the left-hand side diagram. So the good walk score is highly correlated with the density and land value. So what could be going on here? So we looked at the political science literature, and it turns out there is some large body of work that looks at the political participation between rural and urban areas. So could this be an urban-rural divide within the city? More urbanized area versus less urbanized areas. Theory says that more urban areas, people tend to come out and vote less. Three explanations for this. In urban areas, people kind of feel less connected to the city, to the neighborhood. In more urban areas, people don't really know who their candidates are, so they don't feel that connection to political process. Or in more urban areas, it's more difficult to mobilize people to actually come out and vote. Now, we don't actually have any answer whether that's what's going on here, but this is kind of in line with what the political scientists have found. But that's for national election. Okay, national election as in city areas versus countryside areas. In city areas, we tend to see less democratic participation. But here's within the city, okay, within the urbanized area. Professor Pitt said yesterday that within the Bangkok Metropolitan Administration is 100% urban. So, we're still in that urban setting, but yet within that urban setting, in the more centralized, more agglomerated areas, we still see people exercising less of their democratic rights. So why might that be the case? Okay. Yesterday you heard the example of the dog park, right? The investments in Bangkok that happens perhaps without regard to whether you participate or not. If you live in central Bangkok, you'd find that it doesn't matter what you do. You don't even have to participate in any democratic process. Investments will come to you. Okay, public investments, private investments, they'll be there. You have a good life, even if you don't show up to vote. In a way, the Bangkok administration doesn't have that much ability to kind of influence your life. And when they can influence your life, they also tend to influence lives of particular sets of people more than other people. So if you live in central Bangkok and if you feel that way, that's possibly why you're not really coming out to exercise your vote. That's kind of what we think. Of course, alternatively, we're making this inference based on 50 districts. Okay, 50 districts. Some districts are small, some districts are large. The smallest one can be as small as 1.4 square kilometers, and the largest one can be as large as, I think, 237 square kilometers. So the variation is very big. But we're talking about, when we talk about neighborhood, okay, how big are we talking about in terms of neighborhood? Maybe it's only about, your street is a neighborhood. Maybe it's within your extended block is a neighborhood. But we don't have the disaggregated data. The inference we're making is based on the district level data. Good walk score, on the other hand, you could have calculated this on a very small and well-defined neighborhood. So it might be a more localized concept. So because of this, we are hesitating toward drawing a conclusion, okay, between, does walkability actually affect the way you feel, the way you belong about the neighborhood? So that's the work we have. To conclude, it all started off as a simple exercise that came out of a curious conversation between, participants at a conference. We wanted to verify whether these claims, okay, are true or not. So we went to the data and let the data speak to us. Now, we hoped, okay, that the inclusive space can make us feel more belongings and make us feel more inclined to exercise our citizenship. We hope yes, but data seems to say no. Okay. But not to disprove the theories. Okay, as I said earlier, these conclusions should not be drawn yet. We should view this work as very preliminary, and if what comes out of this seems to be people in urban area don't feel the connections to the political process anymore, that concrete forest actually exacerbates isolation from other people. Is there a way for us to bring them back together in the democratic process, in the urban governance process again? My understanding of urban governance is that to be able to even talk about urban governance, we should be able to understand how people interact with each other and their physical surrounding. And to my understanding, we're only just taking a small crack at that, because most of the things we've been talking about are mostly our theories. But now we have access to more and more big data. Okay? We could let the data tell us about how people participate, how people interact, and how people form neighborhoods. So we believe this is just the beginning, okay, of the work that we can do that uses urban big data to understand more about how our cities are and how our cities should be. Thank you very much.